I will never forget the first time I found out what a highly sensitive person was. A lot of these things, I had to think through how I respond to things. I am very aware of the subtleties around me. Now that means when you go into a place, do you notice just about every little detail of the environment? I do. I notice smells, I notice people, I notice the attitudes of people around me. I can see it almost immediately. I can feel it on me, almost as if everything comes like a magnet to me. I can sense everything around me, the music being played, the people's conversation around me. I don't want to hear people's conversations, but unfortunately I do. It's just one of those things as a highly sensitive person that I'm very aware of. And unfortunately, the worst part about that is that it's hard for me to focus on conversations with people when there's other noises going on, even if it's background noise, because I have a tendency to listen to the background noise over the person. I'm distracted by that. I can't focus on what that person's saying to me if all I'm hearing is some song in the background that maybe I really enjoy. Same with the TV. In fact, when I'm having conversations with people and they have the TV on, I often have to ask them, can you please turn the TV off so I can focus on you? Sometimes you have to ask those things. A lot of times people aren't going to be offended by you asking them, can you turn the music down or can you turn the TV off? Explain to them, can you please turn the TV off or the music down or off so that I can better focus on you and what you're saying, because I'm a little distracted by that. People will truly understand that. In fact, they will really appreciate knowing that you fully want to pay attention to what they're saying. And that's going to be a great thing for you. Being a highly sensitive person can be a real gift if you know how to use it right. I'm still learning how to use it for my strength and not my weakness. That's one of the reasons why I'm actually reading this book. I want to learn how to make this my strength, not my weakness. Other people's moods affect me. This is so true. If you're married, you may be very sensitive to how your spouse comes home at night after work or wakes up in the morning. You can be completely just drawn and sucked into that mood and it becomes your own. My husband tends to wake up very cranky and upset, and for a long time, if he was woken up abruptly, he would swear. And immediately my day was set off by that swear word. And I just couldn't get out of that mood from that point on. So are you affected by the way other people are responding and acting around you? Does it affect how your mood is? Does it affect your mood? I tend to be very sensitive to pain. Now, I am incredibly sensitive to pain. In fact, yesterday I went out to feed the birds and it was below zero. It was -2 degrees outside. And as I touched the bird feeder, I actually felt like I burned my fingers, freezer burned them. It was so harsh and I only touched it for a brief second. So I am extremely sensitive to pain, which makes it very hard for me to have a debilitating disease like neuropathy because I am acutely aware of the pains in my body, which is very unfortunate. Now here's one that I want to, but I don't really get a chance to do, is wanting to withdraw during busy days. You want to go into a dark room and you want some privacy. We all need privacy. That's just normal behavior. However, if it's something that you absolutely need, like things start to get overwhelming that you have to withdraw, that is where you're going to be a highly sensitive person. I need that, but I don't get it because I am a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool our son, and my husband works second/third shift, and he sleeps most of the day. So sometimes it's hard for me to just get away. My time is nighttime. And unfortunately for me, I try to find something that doesn't overstimulate me. It doesn't understimulate me. It just kind of I know this is going to sound funny, but just kind of numbs me. I play a lot of bingo games because it seems to relax me. It seems to just kind of bring that tension down a little bit for me. So you need to find something that just kind of quiets your soul, that just gives you some kind of release. And a lot of times I feel guilty for that because I often think I should be reading my Bible right now. I should be, praying or doing something constructive with my time. I could be doing art. I could be journaling. I could be doing these videos. And I don't, because I really do need that time away just by myself, just to deconstruct all the things that have been processed in my mind that day. I am particularly sensitive to the effects of caffeine. I told you I get really jittery if I have coffee. I can't drink coffee because there's way too much caffeine in it for me. And I just get really sick to my stomach. I jitter. I do talk a lot, and I already talk a lot. So you'll know if I'm on caffeine because I am talking like a million miles an hour and I won't shut up. And I'm shaky, and I do get pretty sick by it as well. Easily overwhelmed by things like bright lights, strong smells, coarse fibers, and sirens close by. I tell you what, all those things drive me crazy. Sirens will jolt me. And one of the questions was, you're startled easily? I do. I get startled very easily. If I hear something, I will jump. It's very hard for my family because my son is a little noisemaker. And I feel really bad for him because that's his personality. He likes to be noisy. He likes to make a lot of different sounds and hums, but it's constant. It's like he needs to fill the air all the time with noise, and that really kind of disturbs me. And then when we do have quiet and let's say a book falls or something breaks or somebody trips over something, I am jolted into my heart racing, and sometimes that can actually bring me into a panic attack. I suffer very, very bad anxiety attacks. So that's also part of my issue of being a highly sensitive person, is that I also suffer from anxiety and a debilitating disease that affects my nerves. So whether I'm a highly sensitive person because my nerves are dying quite literally, or because I have anxiety attack, or is it that I have anxiety attacks because I'm a highly sensitive person? I don't know. But smells and bright lights really get me. I've gotten to the point now where I'm almost 50, and I used to always have dim lights, but now I have to have bright lights in order to read. And that's really hard on me because it really hurts me to have the bright lights on. Smells, very sensitive to smells. I can't do Scentsies. I can't do any of those waxy smells that you put into the plugins. I can't do the plugins, the Glade plugins. In fact, essential oils were the only thing that would really seem to calm me down and relax me and help me. But now I'm getting more sensitive with even the essential oils, which is really unfortunate because a lot of the scents that I used to love now are too sweet for me, and I can't really smell them anymore without getting an instant migraine. I have a rich, complex inner life. Now, this isn't about your personal life. This is about you inside. Do you feel like your inner life, your personal you, outside of everyone else, is rich and complex? Mine is extremely complex. Rich, I'm not entirely sure, but I would guess so, because I desire a lot of things. I feel like I have tons of great ideas and creative ideas that are hard for me to get out into the world. I have a hard time expressing that inner life into the real world. I have so much inside of me that it's hard sometimes because there's so much, like I don't know how to really get it all out. And then I try to do it all at one time, and then I get overwhelmed, and I get frustrated, then I fail. But I do feel like I do have a rich, complex inner life. I feel like my relationship with the Lord is rich and complex. People don't seem to understand my relationship with the Lord either, because I'm pretty straightforward with God. I tell it like it is with him. I tell him how I really feel, and I believe that that's what God wants me to do. Now, a lot of people think that being a highly sensitive person is a curse, and you can take it that way. I mean, it can feel like a curse, but if we can understand who we are, why we are the way that we are, then we can find it as a gift. And I am learning that this is a gift that the Lord has given to me. So I really want to make good use of being a highly sensitive person, and so should you. Don't be ashamed of being a highly sensitive person. While others may shun you or feel afraid of your emotions or your reactions to the world, or maybe you're an introvert and you don't know how to express those feelings, that's okay. You are going to find somebody who's going to totally understand you and accept you for who you are and want to understand you better, like my husband does and a couple of my very, very good friends. I am made uncomfortable by loud noises. I told you I startle easy. I hate it. I used to love Harley Davidsons. Oh, when I was younger, boy, Harley Davidsons. Urgh. The sound of a Harley Davidson used to be like one of those things that would just be like, oh, I want to be on a Harley. But now I hear a Harley coming by and I get so anxious. I'm like, why does it have to sound like that? Why do people have to rev it up like that? Where at one time that was okay, where now it's really annoying and frustrating, and loud noises in like grocery stores. That's why I have a hard time going to the grocery store. I don't like all the noise around me, the constant beeping and people in my way, and people talking and jabbering and the overhead noise. There's just so much stimulation in a grocery store. I really cannot handle the grocery store. I am deeply moved by the arts or music. This is so true. Music can actually become a very dangerous place for me. I was once very involved in the music industry. I used to be a music journalist. I used to travel with bands. I used to go backstage and hang out, and that was a part of my past. That's fun and fantastic. It really is, but it's not a part of who I am anymore. So sometimes when I listen to music, I am so moved by some of the music that was a part of my childhood and a part of that life, that sometimes I get sucked into it and I begin to feel like, what am I doing here? Why am I in this life? And so I really have to watch myself with music. And as far as the arts go, art and music can move me emotionally. I can feel what the artist was feeling at the time that they were painting it. And someone may just see a landscape where I see the details of it. I see the colors, I see the emotions behind it. I see the sadness or the happiness or the joy. And that is a really great thing to have. To me, that's a great strength to have, to where you can actually feel the emotions behind music and art. And highly sensitive people have a greater gift of being able to do that, where I feel the whole world is moved by art and music. Music in particular, I believe everyone can be moved by music. I startle easy. I said that. I get rattled when I have to do a lot in a short amount of time. In fact, I get so rattled that I just don't do it. I seriously will look around and be like, wait, there's way too much. And that's when I have to go shut myself off. And for me, because I can't just go shut myself into a room, I will just sit down and start playing bingo games instead. Just because it's my kind of escape. It's my little box that I can put myself in and shut everyone else off. So when I see a whole lot of things that need to be done, and while the normal average person would say, that's not a lot, that's really not a lot. If you watch my video before about what someone would see it as a messy kitchen is actually clean, and I see it completely different. That's how I see the world. I see little tiny messes as huge messes that completely overwhelm me, and I just don't know where to begin first, so I just don't begin. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not a clean person, because I'm completely anal about being clean and having things in order. That's the other thing, is that I have things in such order that I'm in disorder. which completely overwhelms me as well. When people are uncomfortable in a physical environment, I tend to know what needs to be done to make it more comfortable. Oh my gosh, this is so true. Like, I can totally tell when somebody's uncomfortable with, let's say there's not enough light, and I can just sense it. So I feel like I need to turn on the light, or if the music's too loud, I need to turn the music down. I really can read people's emotions, whether they're showing it or not. I just feel it, and I'm able to rectify the situation without even having to ask. That is another wonderful positive aspect of being a highly sensitive person, because you don't really need to ask somebody, do you want the light on? Should I turn the light off? Should I, you just automatically know. And that person's like, oh, that was nice. And I didn't even have to ask. I'm annoyed when people try to get me to do too many things at once. Again, that goes back to being overwhelmed by seeing too many things. I remember when I used to be a corporate event planner, and that called for a lot of multitasking, especially if you have 2 or 3 events going on at one time. Now, this was many years ago, and I actually was able to handle it a little bit better than I would today. Today, I can't do it at all. I really can't. Being a highly sensitive person kind of intensifies as you get a little bit older, because as you get older, you do tend to become more sensitive to your surroundings as it is. But as a highly sensitive person, it just intensifies. So when I feel like I'm thrown a whole bunch of things all at one time, I'm completely overwhelmed, I start having panic attacks, I feel completely out of control and out of my comfort zone, and I don't really know what to do or how to handle it. And then sometimes I just get in a really bad mood, or I get in a funk, or I'll get depressed, or I get angry. It's all really going to depend on the situation and what's being asked of me. I try hard to avoid making mistakes or forgetting things. Oh, people, I swear to you, I am a perfectionist. Again, that could be that type A personality. So if you are a type A personality, then that could have been why you answered true to that if you did. But this goes beyond that. You feel like a failure if you make a mistake, and you are always trying to remember things that you are always forgetting, which is really terrible, especially for someone like me who is getting older, who's on medication for my disease, and that actually affects my memory. And it's really frustrating to forget things, because you do feel like you're crazy and you feel like you're just completely out of control. And you really do try hard to avoid making mistakes or forgetting things. Again, in one of my other videos, I was saying that I try really hard to explain myself to people before I even begin saying what I have to say, because I always feel like I have to do that. Like, I have to explain myself before I can actually tell someone what I need to say, so that they're automatically not jumping to the wrong conclusions, which they do anyway. I make it a point to avoid violent movies and TV shows. There are no horror flicks ever. I very rarely watch any of those types of movies or TV shows. I just can't do it because I'm very, very sensitive to it. In fact, I will start to feel like that's what the world is. I will start to see the world that way, and it will petrify me. I really do get scared because I'm very sensitive to the world. I notice that the world is becoming more like movies, and then it desensitizes us into those things to where it doesn't affect us anymore, where I just can't do that. I take those things on. Very emotional movies, I will feel for the characters, and I will feel their pain so much that I feel like it's happening to me. So if violent movies are on, which I haven't watched in years, I just can't, because I will feel like that's happening to me or will happen to me. I become unpleasantly aroused when a lot is going on around me. Now, aroused isn't sexually aroused. It means like you start building up this tension. And that is what unpleasantly aroused means. A lot of times we get aroused by excitement. We're like all excited, oh my gosh. But then there's unpleasantly aroused when we're just like starting to get really tense. And for me, I start having anxiety attacks. And I do, when a lot is going on around me, I have a really hard time focusing, as I said before. And so then I start kind of getting a little tense and, unpleasantly aroused. It is an unpleasant arousal, this tension, this building up. It just builds and builds and builds. Being very hungry creates a strong reaction in me, disrupting my concentration or mood. Well, I like to eat anyway. I'm a food person. I always have been. Food's been a part of my life. So yeah, eating is a big deal for me. And I do notice that if I don't eat, it will affect my moods, but I will also get unpleasantly ill. Changes in my life shake me up. I couldn't circle that one enough. Seriously. Like, bam. Like, I really cannot stand change. And I know that life is a constant change, but it's when the big things in life happen that I just feel thrown. I feel like somebody has just plucked me up and threw me across the room into a wall, bouncing back and forth. I have no idea how to handle such crazy changes in my life. It really disrupts everything, and I just can't seem to find my way back. And a good example of that was last year at this time, we found out we had to move from the house that we thought we were going to live in for the rest of our lives. We called this place home and truly had it in our head that that's where we were going to live forever and we were going to die in this house. And we were renting it, and we had an agreement with the landlord that we were going to buy it in 2 years. However, there was a lot wrong with it, and the owners just wanted to get rid of it. So they decided they were going to sell, and we were either going to have to buy it right then and there, or we were going to have to move. And that was a little frustrating for us. And I did not handle this very well because I was completely being taken out of a place that for the first time in my life, I felt home. I felt comfortable. I felt safe. I felt good. I was in a great community. And so being ripped away from that was incredibly difficult for me. It really hurt me. And we've been in 2 homes in the past year now, and I just don't feel the same. And in fact, I can't feel home anywhere anymore. And it has really shattered me. And I continue to long for home, and I don't know where that is anymore. And that's been a very difficult thing for me. I notice and enjoy delicate or fine scents, tastes, sounds, works of art. Again, I love food, so I'm very sensitive to tastes. I do love good scents that smell very good, that are pleasing, that are not too overpowering, too sweet, too alcohol-y. I don't like any of that. I love soft music. I love good rock and roll, good classic rock and roll. Don't get me wrong. I love it. And of course I do love art. I make it a high priority to arrange my life to avoid upsetting or overwhelming situations. I try. I really, 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 really try, but it never works. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, the one that I answered false to, the only one that I answered false to was when I must compete or be observed while performing a task, I become so nervous or shaky that I do much worse than I could otherwise. Now, there are times like when my mother was a really good cook, for an example, and when I would cook for her, for some reason, everything turned out crappy because I always felt like I had to perform for her. I always felt like I had to do perfect for her because she was such a good cook. So it always seemed, and my husband was the same way. So I think it was just my mom. She was very intimidating in that sense. In every sense of the word, she was very intimidating. But I don't really get uncomfortable with competition. In fact, I feel I'm a little bit competitive when I have to speak in front of a lot of people at the spur of the moment. I have no problem with that. I am not a shy person. I'm not an introvert. So that is one thing that I would feel is something I am not part of the highly sensitive crowd. That doesn't mean I'm not highly sensitive. And that's one of the things that the author says as well, is that you don't have to actually be an introvert to be a highly sensitive person. There are a lot of extroverts that are highly sensitive people as well. And I am absolutely an extrovert. I love to talk to anybody and anyone, and I can talk about anything to anyone. And I don't really care about sharing my feelings with the whole world, as you can tell. So I don't really get nervous about those things. I don't get shaky either. So those things don't really bother me. Being put on the spot, it doesn't bother me. However, there are times that it can happen to me when I can't think clearly, when there's a lot going on, and then I start getting overwhelmed. And a good example was when I was in college, I had to write a paper off the top of my head, and we had to come up with a topic. Well, I had 9 million topics in my head, but I couldn't think of one. I had all these ideas going on, and that's when I became unpleasantly aroused. Seriously, unpleasantly aroused, to the point where I thought I was going to blow. And I had to try to contain it because I was in the classroom with a bunch of people. And this was terrible. This was just about 10 years ago. And being put on the spot was so difficult for me. And I ended up writing a very good paper, but it was a very difficult process. And trying to control that anxiety and that unpleasant arousal was really hard to do when you're around other people. And trying to hide that, for me, I don't hide my feelings very well. That was the only one that I answered false to. Now, the last one was, when I was a child, my parents or teachers seemed to see me as sensitive or shy. My mother has always told me, you're way too sensitive. You're far too sensitive. My mom was not a sensitive person. She was very rigid. She was very controlling. She was intimidating. She was straightforward, and she didn't care if she was rude or not. She really just didn't care. She wasn't one of those people that would say, no, I'm not saying this to hurt your feelings. No, my mom would never say that. In fact, if it hurt your feelings, she would say, if it hurt your feelings, it's your fault, not mine. Shy? No one ever said I was shy. However, I was bullied when I was a child, so I was kind of an introvert as a child because I had to be, because no matter what I said or did, I was picked on. And I guess that is because I was highly sensitive. I was pretty outgoing. I went to a Catholic school, so I was always picked to read the readings in church. Again, so at a very early age, I was always brought into the center of attention to read, to sing. I sang for competitions. I played guitar for competitions. So I spoke in front of large audiences. So that is basically how I was raised. So nothing like that really bothers me. So I wasn't shy because it just came natural to me. Those things came very natural to me. However, I was sensitive, very, very sensitive to everything around me, which I think is what made me an easy target to be bullied. So those are some things to consider if you are thinking that you are possibly a highly sensitive person. Just take this quiz. Think about some of the things that I said and how I respond to things. Think of possible situations that you may have been in and how you reacted to those situations as well. And if you do feel that you have answered enough questions to determine that you are possibly a highly sensitive person, again, I highly recommend the book. Take care, you highly sensitive people. It's going to be all right. We're special and unique.
Wait, where do you think you're going? You have not hit that subscribe button, nor have you commented, nor have you shared. Now, if you have done all of those three things, feel free to go. But if you haven't, click subscribe, hit the bell, and comment and share. Don't forget to share.